Hello, my name is Dr. Webb, and I am one of the professors teaching business communication. This video is about part one of the team project with the proposal and presentation. Part one is the recommendations proposal that's worth 340 points, and this document has all the information that you are going to need in order to be successful. You'll notice that there's a lot of detail. I'm not going to go through everything. You will be expected to read through this. This beginning part is a table of contents where you can literally click on any of the links and go directly to the section or the part of the instructions that you are looking for. In a previous video, it talked about the overview of the recommendations proposal along with the RFP. This kind of reiterates that. However, it breaks it down also into small parts and big parts of the proposal. You'll notice that two small parts are combined into one big part. So you'll notice that in terms of the executive summary and the conclusion. One other thing that is important to point out here, that with each section of this team proposal, or this recommendations proposal, you will need to have your own citation as well as your own graphic, chart, or figure. So those are things that you will need to put in each of the sections so all of the students have the same opportunity to showcase their ability to create a professional proposal as well as a professional presentation. Another important part of this project is the idea that there's accountability. So if you do the minimal amount of work per section or what's required, then you'll receive a maximum grade of no higher than 17 out of 20 points. However, if you go above and beyond and your section shows that you put forth effort, then you can get between 18 to 20 points per section, depending again on how well it is developed, as well as making sure you have proper formatting, grammar, spelling, punctuation, sentence structure, and so on. The grade sheet is on the last page. You'll notice the grade sheet has a criteria for each of the grading sections, and it will make it clear on what to expect when you are going through developing your section and making sure it meets the standards. Another thing that we pride ourselves on with this project is that this project is divided up equitably. So each student will be accountable for a designated section or sections if you have two of the small parts, which will make one big part. These specific sections will be due on a specific date, and they will be worth 50 points, and that will be just for the individual student who completed it. And then once all of the sections have been submitted, you'll be getting feedback, and then you'll be able to revise them in order to make your presentation or your proposal perfect, allegedly. And you'll know exactly what you need to do in order to get it correct. The next important part of the directions for the proposal would be what roles and responsibilities each student will take on when it comes to the presentation as well as the proposal. So there are lists of teams of 4 students, teams of 5 students, and teams of 6 students, and what specifically will need to be completed. I'm going to move along to the list of 6 students because the majority of teams in our class have 6 students. You'll notice that there'll be a student A, B, C, D, E, F, and E, and it will indicate what will be due for the initial submission, which will be worth the 50 points, which is located in the bold with the italics. The other items that will need to be done that for the proposal that are just in italics, and then some other responsibilities. Now, you'll notice that in each student bullet pointed list, there's something called team project leadership role. This is required, and I will be explaining it in just one moment. Also, in this section, it indicates what role each student will take in terms of the presentation. The team project leadership roles is something that's required, and this is something that's new. What each student is going to do is they are going to take on a specific role, a leadership role for the proposal. It will either be an editor of the proposal, a coordinator of presentation slides, a coordinator of the presentation's virtual takeaway items, as well as a coordinator of the question and answer slides. And I have this also, we have this also divided into the different teams, whether it be a team of 4, team of 5, or a team of 6. Finally is the proposal proofreading checklist. And at the end of the proposal, when you're finished with it and all the revisions have been done, what will end up happening is each student on each team will go to a survey that is the proposal proofreading checklist, and you'll just verify that you've read it over and that it looks good and it's following all the requirements to make this proposal get a great or excellent grade. The next part will be the detailed requirements of each part of the proposal. Moving forward, the next several pages, you are going to find each section or each required part of the proposal and the directions that need to be followed. Now on CourseDen, there are also this information, but it includes an example as well as a template if it's required. The template is also located in this file. It's the second last page or pages, and it goes through what format each section should be set up. And if the team wants to avoid unnecessary work at the end, then all students should use this template when doing their initial submissions so that the formatting is the same when one of the editors puts all the sections together. So here is the directions for the cover page. And again, there are examples on CourseDen. The next section would be the table of contents. The table of contents is set up like a section with a title, and it has directions on how to do a leader tab, just like you see the table of contents in this document. You'll also see this link to a video, and this video will actually show you how to put a leader tab so that you can have dots going across to the number and they all line up. I put each section on a page separately so that it didn't all blend together and it wasn't too confusing to recognize which section is which. So this is the executive summary. This is the actual last section to be completed. It will go through what needs to be included. Some of the important things are noted in the yellow highlights. You'll notice that the subheadings have underlines, which is how it should be in your actual proposal, except it would be double spaced. company background section, which is the background of your team's hypothetical consulting company. This section will require a minimum of 1 citation, which you'll find that supports some of the things that your consulting company is doing, as well as you're going to need to include a minimum of 1 chart, graph, or figure. And in each section, I've indicated what it should be, how it should be formatted, and what it should look like, so to speak, depending upon if you have a chart, a graph, or a figure. I've included each of the paragraphs and the titles of the subsections, statement of need, and each section will include a citation as well as an image or a graph or a chart that you'll be referencing within the narrative. The only section that is a little bit different would be the external communication section. In the external communication section, which is located right here on page 23, this section will include not only a citation, but it will require 2 charts and 2 graphs. 1 chart will be for the current external communication, and 1 chart would be for the SWOT analysis. And as mentioned with the other sections, each of these sections on CourseDen have an example for you to look at in order to see the tone and the depth and the scope of what we're looking for. Finally, we have the recommendations section. This also needs a citation as well as a chart, graph, or figure. Important things located or highlighted in yellow. If there are recommendations that require funding, so for example, if there's a website upgrade or a leadership retreat and they cost money and you want to earn some extra credit, you can create an optional funding requirements section. There's an example on CourseDen, but basically it would include information about your recommendations and how much the recommendations may cost if the department or organization is interested. And this extra credit opportunity does require a chart with the descriptions along with the costs to the department or organization. Finally, it's not last but not least, but it's at the end, is the conclusion. The conclusion is a separate section that is basically your final chance to sell the department or student organization to want to work with your consulting company. So it needs to be very persuasive and almost have a sales pitch or sales tone to it. Here are the instructions on what to expect in each section. The conclusion also has something that's required at the end, and that is a complimentary close. And in this complimentary close, it will look like this. It will say respectfully submitted with the student's name and then the position that each student holds within that hypothetical consulting company. And that's something that you and your team will be determining as you start figuring out and creating your hypothetical consulting company. The fact that each student on the team will have a specific area of expertise or title. Now, last but not least is the references section. Now, as mentioned, each section has a citation that's required. Therefore, there will be a minimum of 6 citations. In fact, you may have more because you can include a citation from the website of the department or organization, as well as the department or organization that you've compared it to in the internal communication section. But here are the information, here's the information, and here's a link here to the actual APA formatting and reference guide to setting up a reference page. Last parts of this information include the proposal section template. This will be included in each of the sections when you have one of the required sections due for an initial submission in a Word format so that each student can basically delete the information here and type over, but use the same format. You'll notice that the top title is in all capital letters. The body is double spaced and indented. Each subsection is bold and underlined. Each subpoint is bold and italicized. This needs to remain consistent throughout the entire proposal. This proposal should look as if one person completed it, even though there'll be basically contributions from 5 or 6 other individuals. And it should look like one fluid document, even though there are basically 5 to 6 different voices. These voices, which are your voices, your team member voices, are harmonious and have the same flow and tone and is written like a team. As mentioned, the last part will be the grading rubric. You can see here this grading criteria that will explain how the points are set up, as well as what you can expect in each of the different grading rubric categories. This is the project for part 1 of the team proposal. The next video that you'll be listening to and watching will be for part 2, which is the team presentation. I hope that you are looking forward to this project. Pretty soon you'll be determining what role and responsibility you'll be taking on and what special leadership role you'll be taking on in this project. If you have any questions, just reach out to your professor and we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.